wrestle with ourselves was, okay, what do we do with these major holidays that come up? Um, these big kind of religious pillar important holidays if we're not partaking in the traditional way anymore. And one big one that is tomorrow is Easter. It's it's Easter, right? And so we've gone through Lent season. Yesterday was Good Friday, and tomorrow is the event. It is Easter where families get together, people go to church. Um, it's just big, and so yeah, we wanted to come on here and talk about it. So for anyone who's not super familiar, Easter is the holiday in the Christian community that is when people come together to celebrate Jesus's resurrection. He rose from the dead 3 days after he died. He was crucified. He conquered death. This is a victorious holiday where we celebrate Jesus rising from the dead. He did the impossible, the ultimate miracle, and so we should no longer fear darkness. We should no longer fear death. We should no longer fear Satan, evil, anything like that. You can kill our body, but you cannot kill our soul because our Savior, the person we look to, he has conquered death, and it was on this day, Easter. Um, and so I'm going to pause right there because Asha has entered the chat. I'm going to add her to the screen. Asha, you ready? And now that I put you on blast, maybe can she hear me? Are you good? I don't know. Let's see. Hey, hey.
Hello. Can
Welcome.
you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Could you hear me?
Okay, I have to fix something on my computer because I can't hear you.
Okay. I'm going to keep going. I'm going to mute you.
So that's what
Okay, great. So she's muted. I'm going to keep it rolling. Oh, got a little itch here. Okay. So that is what Easter means in general, but what Easter means more specifically to people, I actually polled some people that I know in my personal life and then also just on some social media platforms just to get a pulse like what does Easter mean to you guys? What has it meant to you in the past? And one person shared, and she's a grief recovery specialist. So she thought of it kind of from the grief standpoint and said that she thinks about just the immense love that it represents for, like, in terms of how much God loves us, that he would be willing to sacrifice his son. Because for her, as a mortal mother, she's like, I could never do that. Same. Neither could I. I'm not sacrificing my son for nobody, especially trifling people like the general population we have here on earth in the human condition. Um, Someone else said, Easter is first and foremost the remembrance of when Jesus Christ rose from the dead. As I said before, they associate it with family gatherings and celebration. Someone else said, thinking back to when they were more in the religious space, remembering lots of campaigns. One was the Take Back Easter campaign, kind of fighting against how Easter has become Easter egg hunts and Easter bunny, and no, let's reclaim it for the Lord. Um, One person mentioned Lent, which is the practice. I think you give something up for, is it 40 days? But just seeing it as a time to get rid of bad habits and try to implement some good habits. One other
Mhm.
person said they associated it with sunrise services. And so that's just kind of the general feel from the people that I reached out to, the people that responded. And I think that's pretty consistent with how we see it represented. And what a lot of people are saying, that there's campaigns, there's family, there's these more longer observances, and so much reflection. And so, Asha, what did Easter mean to you when you were more in the religious and typical Christian space?
Well, I think my only religious experience is with ICOC. I was not a religious person at all prior to joining that organization. So, um, obviously, as a child, I would go to Easter service with my grandma. So I guess for me, it was very, very basic. Jesus rose from the dead. on this day. I think when I was younger, I didn't know what that meant. Obviously, as an adult, I understood that for what it was taught to me is that is ultimately why our sins get forgiven, right? Because he rose from the dead. So there, you cannot be convicted of his death anymore. So that's a big deal. Also, proving that he is indeed the Son of God. So that is what it meant to me. I think being a part of ICOC, it changed. Are we talking about that part yet?
Not yet.
Okay, cool.
Or wait, in the ICOC, you can talk about what it meant in the ICOC.
Oh, I was just gonna say, obviously, these are things we still talked about. Him rising from the dead, how big of a deal that was. The fact that that meant, we're no longer guilty. But then I was just talking to my husband today. It was like being a member of ICOC was like you somehow joined another career, right? So Easter became this day where, of all days, you should have a visitor because, like, this is the day most of America will attend church. So, unfortunately, it became a day of guilt and productivity because it became a day where we shine, right? In ICOC, it was like, well, we're not like other people, those Christmas and Easter Christians. We come all the time. But this is a day where we can use to bring those people in. Um, so it became an opportunistic day. Uh, so it became associated with a lot of me feeling frantic to find people to come, me worrying about what people would think if I wasn't somehow able to secure a visitor for Easter. And then it became a day where we all had to show up absolutely ready to love bomb the hell out of all the visitors who did come. So it was a complete anxiety fiasco in my head going on Easter during those times.
So that's actually part that kind of touches on what Easter meant for me, even when I was a little girl. Not that I felt like I had to bring out visitors or guests then, but the performance aspect. I've So if you guys don't know by now, or if you're new to the channel, I am such an introvert. I am such an introvert. And also, I don't know, what you guys think about astrology or whatever. But for me, I am a Cancer. I have a Cancer sun, Cancer moon. So I am, and something that's very stereotypical of Cancer is that we like to be home. We like to be home. I have liked that since I was a very little girl. I would beg my mom when I was a child if she was going to the store, can I please stay home? And I didn't understand. I still don't understand. Like, ma'am, I can stay home for hours while you're at work, but I can't stay home when you go to the store. Anyway, I guess that was her maybe trying to not leave me at home all the time. Maybe she was trying to make herself feel good. But anyway, I never wanted to go in. Sometimes I would, but for the most part, if I could stay home, let me say, I like intimacy. I like intimate gatherings. I like quality connection. And I like that in my spirituality too. And I like that in my relationship with God. And so as I was getting the notes together for this episode, I'm like, I cannot for the life of me ever remember an Easter I truly enjoyed. And it's because for me, it's always felt like a lot of pomp and circumstance. And so as a little girl, especially a little Black girl, the prep starts weeks out. You have to find the right Easter dress, the right Easter socks. When you're a child, you're always growing. So you always need new Easter shoes. You got to walk in them, parade them. The ones I think are cute, my mom doesn't think are cute, or they're too grown because I'm 10 and this much heel is too much heel. Um, in 2003, I don't, or whatever, maybe 2000, the year 2000, in South Carolina, itchy stockings and pantyhose, that are either bright white, pink, or very pale, like ashy. Then the night before, 2 nights before, it's a whole, your hair is getting done. There's a hot comb. There's hair dryer. There could be hard rollers. There could be like it's just a lot. Then there's not only is there the service, but then there's the food after. And again, give me my food and let me sit in a corner
Right.
by myself. But no, I have to entertain. And it just stayed this way even as I got older. And so, and then joining the ICOC, which, for anyone new here, that's the International Churches of Christ, was in it for like 13, 14 years. Now being an adult and also having to bring visitors, now I have to host. I get married, I get brought into this family. Now I'm expected maybe to help prep the food or prep the kitchen, then clean up afterwards. And I have to smile and engage in conversation. And um, I didn't expect to go on and on about this so long, honestly. Like
No, it's good.
lots of people love Easter. Lots of people love Easter. And I think the themes behind Easter are beautiful. But for me, I just never loved it because for me, an introvert who loves to be home, and I feel more connected not only to my friends and family, but even to God when I can be in my like in that presence in my own space, in a comfortable space with my thoughts and not having to perform,
Mm,
and be smiley enough and giving and like outward, it was just very counterintuitive for me. So the thought of Easter coming always made me feel tired before it even got here.
wow.
And um
Wow.
it's crazy the things that you allow yourself to realize when you're away from it. Because when you're in it, it's like, okay, like I think I would try to psych myself up for it to get
Yeah.
excited because the resurrection, it's so amazing. I'm so grateful I have this chance at life. But like I wish I would have had the freedom to enjoy it the way I wanted to enjoy it. And so it just always felt like extra performance because that's what others need. That's what others expect. This is what Easter is: Easter service, Easter song, Easter colors,
Yeah.
Easter meal.
Yeah.
And so that's what Easter has been in my
Yeah. It's
life.
so funny. I opened the refrigerator like a couple days ago and there's this big ham sitting in there. And I'm like, what is this, Odell? He's like, they were on sale for some reason.
For some reason.
And I was like, okay. He was like, I mean, ham is good. It was like, it was his big sale. I was like, oh
Ham is
my God, Easter, Easter dinner. He's like, there it is.
good. Oh
You
my
have no
gosh.
idea how much like we in this household have dissociated from all of that. Like disconnecting from everything you shared, Nikita, has been like such a sigh of relief. And we just don't even want to think about it. You know, the pomp and circumstance, like you said, that's what it was. That's what it is. And we were even talking like, what is Easter exactly? What even is it? You know what I'm
What
saying?
even is it?
And it's like, it's really, this Christian take on the Passover, right? Just always gotta copy something. Or speaking of that, like the Jewish people have Passover, so we have Easter because Jesus resurrected. So someone posted this, Easter is proof that Jesus is superior also, or is used to put other religions down. So again, it was another way to create this superiority, spiritual superiority, this religious elitism, that I'm like, yep, that was it as well. But like you said,
Yeah.
Nikita, it's so exhausting. So exhausting.
And I can honestly acknowledge, right? Because humanity is a kaleidoscope. I
Hmm.
can acknowledge the beautiful themes in Easter. And I think
Yeah.
that I think that kind of rituals, not in like a pagan sense, but like certain things are like birthday cakes. That's a ritual, you know, you
Yeah.
blow out the candle. It's just something you do. Like, I think there's a place for that. I think
Yeah.
it's cool, you know. I think the problem then comes in where people are kind of demonized or villainized if they do
Oh,
not want
yeah.
to partake in that. And so I in no way, because when I know that we can be quite what's the word I'm looking for? Cynical, maybe. So
Mhm.
even when I was asking people for feedback on their thoughts of Easter, I included the clause, we are not going to be critiquing or judging these.
No.
We want to just talk
Mm-mm.
about like the wide spectrum of ways to celebrate Easter. And so I
True.
think some
Yes.
people enjoy that. Some people need that. I think there are other rituals in my life that I have, but as we've moved away, they're meaningful to me because I have chosen that that's the way that I want to commemorate and celebrate certain things in my life, you know, and other people might not like that. And so when you have this big, like some people, even people who don't, is Lent Catholic? Is it Episcopalian? So please forgive my ignorance. But for people who are not part of that like sect that practice Lent, some people choose to adopt it because they like that thought of let me be disciplined, let me get focused. So there's Lent. Some Christian people started observing like the whole Passover and giving more reverence and reflection to that. And I know at the in the ICOC over the last several years, they started doing these like seders, these meals with lamb and herbs and going through the Passover story. And that was cool. And I say all of this to say, oh, there's family pictures that get taken. There is the big meal. And when you decide to step away from your church family, or maybe even that faith as a whole, there's now a big gap in your life, and it can on that day, and it can leave you feeling like, well, what do I do? It's kind of like when you have a breakup, or if your best
Mm.
friend moves away, and it's like, well, we always watched The Devil Wears Prada on every third Friday. What am I supposed to do on my third Fridays now? Or I would always text my partner when I saw this crazy TikToker, but we're not together anymore. What do I feel with this gap now? And so there's kind of that feeling when you're deconstructing, like, well, I'm not with that group, or I don't believe
Mm.
that anymore, but Easter's here. And maybe you have a little like FOMO, fear of missing out. Maybe you have a little, maybe it brings sadness because it is empty. Maybe it brings confusion. Maybe, I don't know, but we get lots of
Wow.
questions.
That's
We get lots of
good.
questions. And then even, you know, I don't think, again, because Asha and I, we're very in some ways one dimensional in our take, because we never wanted to go to any of this stuff in the first place. But we can acknowledge that there is another side. And so while it felt very good to be like, oh God, I'm so glad I don't have to get out of bed, at least the first year, maybe two, it was like, oh, well, we're not going to Easter right now. Okay. And it's several years now, and it's like, why are the hams on sale? Why are, we don't remember, but that first it's like, oh, there is a gap. So, and so we wanted to make this video to kind of speak to that. Um,
Mhm.
Asha, did you want to say anything before we jumped in to the point?
No, I'm like, I have to remember that because I am very one-dimensional.
Asha, we have
I
to
did that
appeal
so
to
quick.
everyone's not like us.
I do. I have such a hard time with that. I just wanna confess that, if my delivery comes off sharp sometimes, I am just like, "Whew, don't have to do that crap anymore." And then when people are like, "Well, don't you miss this or that?" And I'm like, "No.
No,
What are
actually,
you
not at
talking about?
all.
Get get out of here. Stop talking about," like, the way I dropped it and the whole thing, even when Nikita was like, "We should do this video," I was like, "Yeah," like, in my brain, it was like I didn't even realize that there had been, like, 3 Easters since I left. Did not have an effect on me whatsoever. So if they're like, "Oh, we usually do this," I was in there for 21 years. I completely forgot. I just was like I think for me, every holiday now was like, I
I was gonna
only
say
remember the Women's Day tradition because I always have, this thing called open house at my job where I have to go, and it was always the only Saturday I had to go into work. Working on weekends is terrible in an ICOC. Who does that? That's a time where you should be working for the church
for free.
for free. How dare you go to your job? So, uh, and this event at my job always fell on Women's Day, and it wasn't until I realized that that event was coming up that I was like, oh my God. I don't have to feel guilty that I'm here all morning and have to rush over to Women's Day without a properly prepared dish and the right type of outfit. I'm so happy, but it's not until something reminds me I could care less. So, but I do. I understand, like Nikita said, there are other perspectives and there are people. And I think for me, also like Nikita, understanding astrology helps me to empathize with those people sometimes. Like there are people who that community aspect, that getting together, that ceremonious meeting actually was healthy for them in a way, or not healthy, but it was meaningful. It's something that they desire. I don't understand that desire, but I acknowledge that it exists. So yes.
Well, and I think something else too is because we also, this is gonna sound so terrible. We also don't really care about our families of origin. Like, not like that. And that's so bad that our mothers taint the whole thing. I adore my dad
So that's
and I
what
love
I'll
my
say.
sister.
Yeah, there are parts of my family I adore, but it
But I
had
think we
gotten
had the most
tainted. Yeah.
exposure to our moms.
Yeah.
We had the most
Mhm.
exposure to our moms. And then, even when we were with our moms and with other people, we couldn't even freely enjoy the other
That's
people
what it was.
or be ourselves with the other members of our family
Yep.
because of how it would be tainted. So, with that being said, because for some people it's not even entirely about, I mean, obviously I don't want to say it's not about Jesus, but it's so much more because I get to see my family and we hang out
Mhm.
and this is what we
Yeah.
always do, but now it makes me feel uncomfortable and I don't know if I can do that. But excuse me, I don't want to miss out on my family and all of that, but Asha and I also don't have that.
Exactly.
So, and so when you were like, it didn't have an effect on me, I was like, oh, it had an effect on me. It had a positive effect on me. I looked through so many of my Google photos. I think of so many, I'm like, I am just so happy. But like, my little, this is the most Easter thing I could find.
I
And I feel
love
like
it.
it's more Kentucky Derby.
I mean, and look at me. Look at my background compared to Nikita's. I put on an orange shirt
No,
for
this
y'all.
was
Happy
me
Easter.
trying. I was like, well, you have one like a pastel. That's guys, this is us trying
I
to do
found it.
Easter. Trying to do, I put on like flower earrings, which I do want to tell you, you will 95% see me transform throughout this live because these earrings are heavy and they get on my nerves. So they're just here. Let's give them a moment. Let's see. Here we go.
And of course,
Okay,
no
let's.
earrings.
Well, you're not pierced. Okay, sorry. So back to me. This is my
Not here.
moment.
No
Here
tattoo.
we go. Hold
Yes.
on. Where? No, here. There we go.
Yes.
So there. All
Gorgeous.
right. They're heavy. They'll probably
Mhm.
come off here soon. And I also don't wear contacts and I'm blind. So I will put my glasses on at some point. I need to read my notes. And this is completely me trying to be cute on the
Yes.
internet. Um, so, but you will see me like Mrs. Claus put on my glasses here shortly. We're going to see how long I can hold out, but I don't
Yeah.
know why I ever thought this was going to be a streamlined episode. We go all over the place.
It's
But
my
anyway,
fault. It's
we
hard to do.
are here.
Yeah.
We are here for all of you who love Easter
Yeah.
to talk about that and other ways that you can consider observing it and viewing it. And we are not by any means, please, Asha and I are passionately anti influencers who tell other people how to live their lives. Okay.
Mm-mm.
And if you've been following me for any amount of time, you've seen some evolution here because I definitely tried to fit that box. This is how you should do this. And this is how you should do and 5 ways to blah, blah, blah. Because I'm like, I think it was coming from a good place. I want to help and I have some, but you just realize like, how am I going to, I don't even know all of you people. I don't
Yeah.
know all of your circumstances. I
Yeah.
had not degreed in this. Like, so we will never sit up here and tell you one way is this is the way you should do it. But
Mhm.
we do know that it is helpful to hear ideas and perspectives that could get your own wheels turning. Okay,
Yeah.
so please, 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 the only thing we will tell you to do is leave an abusive relationship. And even that
Oh, I'm telling
is
you that.
so
Yeah.
nuanced. It's so nuanced because there's so many things that go into it. Are there kids? Are you financially able? Do you have a safe place? Like there's so many things.
Mhm.
And then there's the psychology. So anyway, please, please know that Asha and I never, ever, ever want to be the type of people that are going to be like, and this is what you should do. And this is how you should do it. So anyway, with that being said, these are ways that we have enjoyed reframing our thoughts around Easter. Also, they include some thoughts that others have shared that they
Mhm.
also do it. And just as a jump off point for you to think about how might you
Mhm.
consider evolving in this and finding a way that fits for you in your life, in your belief system, in your family, in your social needs and all of that. So I hope I'm not over explaining, but you will find that one thing that I love about us, not just me and Asha, but like our community of ex-evangelicals is for people who are really doing the work, you will never find, I think, a more accepting group of people
Yeah.
and a group of people who are so careful to not assert their own stances onto you because we know how we have been so victimized by people doing that to us and
Yeah.
how much damage we did to other people. So anytime one of us wants to give advice, oh my, even in our group thread, I think we've just in the last couple of months stopped doing this. But
Mhm.
anytime we wanted to give a perspective, and we have like this 45 to 90-second disclaimer at the beginning. I am in no way telling you what you should do. And you are a grown woman, and I trust your intuition. And I want you to listen to your intuition. And please don't think that I'm stepping out of line. If I'm stepping out of line, you can tell me. And meanwhile, the person listening is getting so anxious. Like, well, what are you about to tell me? And then it would be like, you don't deserve that. And I think you should stand up for yourself because you shouldn't be treated that way. But if you want to lay low, I totally respect that. And but we were just so paranoid about
Mhm.
um yeah,
Yes.
about telling each other what to do. Thank you, Christine. This is so hilarious. Telling people how to
Yes.
live your life is very ICOC coded. It
It
is.
is.
And so we're like, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. I just want to be helpful. And these are some of my thoughts. And if they help you, then they can help you. And if they don't, then they don't.
But
But
I
okay.
did do that yesterday. It was after I was telling Nikita my thoughts about something she had experienced,
Oh
and she was like,
yeah.
"Well, the reason I didn't react that way is because of this." And I was like, "Listen, I am not saying that there's anything you should have done. Okay, this is just my thoughts. Just when I'm doing that, I am not saying that you should be doing that. Like I'm just talking." It was crazy. We were like going back and forth.
And then I was like, no, no,
Yeah.
no, it was perfect. I got it. I got it. Like it's so we're still a little neurotic in that way. You see
Yes.
our trauma come out.
Gotta be careful.
But
Mhm.
again, that's why I say ex-evangelicals, I think, who are doing the work, they're just the best
Yeah.
because that's what our trauma is going off of. But anyways, okay, so to go along with Jesus rising on the third day, we came up with a list of 3 meanings that Easter has taken on for us as ex-evangelicals. And so number 1 is, to no one's surprise, resurrection.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
not just Jesus's resurrection. I And a lot of us view it as the chance at a new life. I personally believe that it was the creator of all this who led me out of
Yeah.
my previous way of worship. I believe that it was the creator, that it was God, whatever you choose to call the deity, that opened my eyes and was like, listen to yourself, listen to how your body feels, listen to your thoughts. This is not bringing you closer to me. You want to worship me, you want to be
Mhm.
spiritual. This is not it. And so I am very grateful for that. I credit my freedom and my happiness, my joy, my health, not only mentally but physically, to God leading me out of there. Asa, did you want to say anything about that?
Yeah, I mean, it's a resurrection, y absolutely, of our true selves and just, renewal of our minds. I think for me, definitely I feel the same, like the creator was leading me out of this because I'm trying to think of where to start. It was just living a lie in that place. So Nikita mentioned, we'll never tell you what to do, but I do come off very, very strongly about people acknowledging the truth of that place and, what was really happening. I will not accept anybody ever trying to gaslight me or tell me that it's bad for me to acknowledge behaviors that I see. And so I feel like literally I am physically healthier and stronger now that I don't have to sit back and pretend I don't see things that I see. I feel like it was just punching me in the face over and over again. All these lies, all this hypocrisy, all this, going back on what you said you wouldn't do, but you do it when we're not obeying, when we're not listening, when you feel threatened about people standing up for themselves or protecting themselves. Like, again, me and Nikita and quite a few people, COVID was our exit because we had that time to sit and think. And then we also saw the hypervigilance of the leaders get very scared during that time because they were losing their control over our physical presence, over us demographically where we were, and it was getting crazy. And I hate to say that COVID really was a eye-opening moment for me because I hate what it did to people, but yeah, it is amazing continuing to fight uh that mindset that was passed down to us and live in actual truth. For me, I get to live in actual truth now. I don't have to cover over, try to hide behaviors, make excuses for behaviors anymore because in the name of unity, different things like that. It's wonderful because, like I said, I haven't thought about Easter, but thinking about that whole resurrecting, like I was literally dead. I was dead inside, making excuses for things, pretending to be okay with things, pretending that um, who I was, my abilities, if they didn't match what ICOC wanted at that time, the things I wanted to do, pretending that they were bad so that I could fit into this box. It is literally like coming to life. So that is something I didn't think about until Nikita brought it up. That is something that I can celebrate for sure. What? What are you laughing at?
You don't realize it. That's like the third or I feel like at least the third time that you're like, because Nikita said it, and Nikita asked me about Easter. I
Listen, I'm
guess.
giving you the credit. That's that cancer in you because I'll just be sitting around like, huh? What? I don't know.
No, I think it's my Libra.
Mm.
Like
Oh, yes.
there's another side of the coin, Asha. It's not
And I'm
all
like,
bad. Okay, let's acknowledge the other side and all the other people. Let's be considerate of other people, Asha. Because I think I personally feel like you, but I can just see the other side.
Yes.
I can acknowledge the validity there, and it is
Mhm.
real, and I can see how it would be hard for people, you know. But
Yes.
anyway, so on the you're so yeah, um, but yeah, so on personal resurrection, I like when you said I was dead. I
Mhm.
was too, y'all. I look so different.
Yep,
Just that.
literally.
I feel like I look at myself now and I'm like, huh, there she is.
Yeah. I
That's me.
I feel like that when I look at you. I do. I swear.
um,
Yeah.
like I'm writing again. I started writing poetry in like elementary school, more in middle, a lot more in high school, started performing in college. Y'all, I didn't write for years. I didn't write for years. I was in a self published book with several of my peers from school,
Wow.
my university. We self published. We won a little underground award for our book. We would go to other campuses and perform. Like we got invited a place or two to do that. Our little group. We were called the Left Side Poets.
Yeah.
And I didn't write for years because I was busy, I was tired, I was stressed, I was depressed. Um, I shared that one already. I mean, we're good. You can share it twice.
I was talking
Um,
when you shared it. I just think it's good to put up there.
it
I'm just
is. It was
adding
really
stuff
good. It
that
was
I
really
want people
good.
to
Alicia,
see.
I hope you feel really great. We both
Yeah.
really liked it. Um, and so, and I didn't write for such a long time. And then I even got convinced that poetry is not important. Writing is not important.
Yeah.
It's just words. It's just a silly little hobby. And now I'm like, no, look at what writers and poets have done all throughout humanity. The great works that we look at, the way they put things into, but that was taken from me. But I've
Yeah.
started writing again. You know, what other things? Just so many other things. So many other things about me. But the colors, I like music. Oh my gosh, I just love dancing. Not like professional or anything, but loved just dancing around the house, dancing in the car, just bebopping my way like from room to room. I stopped doing that.
Mm.
I do that
Yeah.
again. You know, like just myself. I just feel myself alive
Yeah.
again. Um, and I'm like, oh, am I gonna get teary? I don't know. I think if I focused on it, I could, but I'm not gonna do it. And so just even in that, like when you leave, a lot of people leave their version. Like if someone's deconstructing or if they consider themselves an exvangelical, a lot of us leave because we felt controlled, we felt oppressed. And so, if you're part of that group and you're out now, you can celebrate the different ways that you can see yourself coming alive. And if you're in the very, very beginning, you might not see any of that rebirth yet. But just even the fact that you have the space to watch this video,
Mm.
even the fact that you have the option to do something different with Easter, that is a rebirth. The fact that you have a choice. Easter wasn't a choice for so long. The Easter meal, the Easter colors, the Easter smile, the Easter
Yeah.
songs, the Easter communion. It wasn't a choice. And you have that choice now. So even if you haven't seen
Mm.
any of your rebirth yet, if you still feel like you are in the dying phase, it hurts that you're separated from your friends. It hurts that you maybe feel isolated from your family. Like the fact that you have a choice, that's that sapling
Yeah.
coming up. And I do hope that you can acknowledge that. And I'm not here to spill toxic positivity and say, so Reed, drunk down now. Reed, drunk down now. That's so exciting. Go you. Like, No, but hopefully that's like a seed, a little sprout of hope and a foretelling of what is to come. And similar
Mm,
to that, something that I also enjoy now is looking at the rebirth and the resurrection just of the physical realm around us, nature.
yeah,
At least where we live, and in the States, in the Northern Hemisphere, things are becoming green again. Flowers are blooming again. I see little ducks outside, and the birds chirping more
yeah.
in the mornings, and the sun is coming back. I love the sun. Love it, love it, love it, love
He
it, love
does.
it. And I rejoice in that. I
Yeah,
rejoice in that. I love that. And that is another gift from the creator.
yeah,
So yeah, that's my spiel
yeah.
on resurrection. That's point numero uno.
Yes. Love it. I love it, and yes, Trina, I feel like I'm still finding myself. So yeah, 5 years, I think that's probably standard. We were in there for so long, continuously stuffing, rejecting whoever we were because we knew what we were supposed to be. So I love that. And yes, for choice. For choice.
Yeah.
Choosing.
If you can't be grateful for anything else,
Mhm.
and I'm not saying be
Mhm.
happy about it, but you can be grateful for it. That is a so because we were just told where to go and when to be there and how long, and then if you're not there early enough, if you don't stay late enough, if you're not helping with the chairs, if you're not setting up napkins, if you're not smiling for the pictures, and any of the things, you could
Yeah.
be demonized.
Yeah. And this is the part that always makes me mad. You're always told that this is your real family. You're always there's a, for a better word, chiasm placed between you and anything outside of this group, especially your biological family. I was sometimes I still go in and listen to lessons just so I can, maybe have content or just even understand what was done to me. Um, and it was a marriage retreat lesson. And the guy was saying, what do you do when you and your wife have conflict? Do you do this? Do you do that? And then the last point was, do you talk to your parents? Or maybe he said family. No, he specifically said parents. And everybody in the audience said, ooh, it was
How
just,
dare you?
ooh, like not the parents. And I almost threw my computer across the room. I have to make sure I don't do that. I have to keep plastic bottles around because they make a loud noise when they hit the wall, but they don't damage anything. So if anybody needs to turn the house into a rec room, like those light plastic bottles, just flick them around. So anyway, I was just like, this is it. This is what they do, And then he said, I hope not. And it was just, this is a normal thing to say to people in this audience. This is stuff I listen to. And here we have Alicia talking about how with her family, it was actually authentic. It was real. It wasn't faked. And the same with me. Like, speaking of astrology, I'm a Leo rising. So as a kid, when I got the new Easter dress, those fluffy socks and those patent leather shoes, I was so excited. I was like, spinning around in a circle. I loved it. That was taken away from me for performance, for pressure. So anyway, yeah, I totally uh identify with what you said, and this is something that makes me so angry. Our families were demonized, and this is where so many of us were actually able to be our true self in one way or another, even if there was toxicity there. So yep.
Yeah, well, that's nice for you. I still didn't even have that then. But, everybody's different. So moving on. Point number two. So first we had that we can celebrate and reflect on resurrection. Number two is freedom. And again, guys, I'm trying to appeal to a wider audience. I know we typically
Mhm.
attract people who are more like us, but
Mhm.
others may search the title or see the thumbnail, and I don't want to, isolate anybody. So anyway, all of that to say, I'm about to quote a scripture. And I think the theme of the scripture, the method of this, not the method, the message of the scripture is transcendent. So Galatians 5:1, it is for freedom Christ set us free. And it just blows my mind that so many churches have the audacity to preach this while putting its people in chains.
Wow.
What the world? Like you keep, how does that meme go? You freedom. You keep using that word. I do not think you know what it means.
Exactly.
But now you can celebrate your freedom. Your freedom. Like, I think that's a wonderful theme and premise in spirituality and in humanity as a whole, no matter what you believe, whether you
Mm,
maybe you're not spiritual at all anymore, but I think we can all agree that that is a human right. It should be a birthright that
wow.
as long as we are doing no harm to anyone, then we are free to do what we want. We are
Yeah.
free to do what we want. You know, some say this is all a big simulation anyway. So, so just as long as we're not hurting anybody, let's have some fun.
Yeah.
Um, and there are so many scriptures actually that talk about the difference between being obedient to the law versus the spirit, and how the law brings like death and confinement and the spirit brings life, and that it's not about do not taste, do not touch,
Mm,
do not handle, right?
yep.
It's not about have you been baptized or circumcised or not. It's not about these rules and following everything to the letter. In fact, there's so many scriptures where the best rule followers, the best law followers, are the most condemned. They're the
Yeah.
most condemned because their hearts are not there. And this was actually something that real for years before I left, I really wrestled with and had to suppress. Because again, my nature is, I think I've always, even since being a very, very small girl, I've always felt the connection to God, a greater power. I've always been
Yep.
very spiritually kind of aware, but it was always very personal and intimate and things like that. And so maybe 2014, 2015, maybe even 2013, because I remember texting my roommate at the time. We would text each other like, what the hell is this? What are they talking
Mm,
about? Why are they telling us on a Wednesday at 8 p.m. how to read our Bible?
yeah.
I've been here for 5 years. Like, or long, I've been here for 7 years. Why is this what you're choosing to talk to me about on a Wednesday night? I would feel better. I would feel closer to God at home listening to my little contemporary Christian playlist, journaling and thinking through things, maybe reading a couple of scriptures on my own. And so that just intensified over the years where I just felt like I'm doing this as a tradition. And I know there are so many scriptures where God Himself and Jesus condemn people for showing up when their hearts are far from Him.
Yep.
And my heart does not want to be here at all right now, but I am
Yep.
here because I'm told this is what I'm so. And so, anyway, all of that
Mm,
to circle back to now we are free.
yep.
We are free to worship or not. Would you say the midweek services of disciple makers for the 40? Oh my God. Anyway, let's stay the course because that's a whole other episode. We should do one just on midweeks. Okay, focus,
Oh my
focus.
gosh. Yeah.
Um, but like now we can choose to worship, to not worship, to reflect, to treat it like a normal day. We can do whatever we want because we are free. We're
Yeah.
free. If you are sad this weekend, be sad. If
Yeah.
you're angry, be angry. If you got the money, go to a destruction room or just go yell, go drive and yell. Gas is expensive though, but whatever you want to do, if you want to be happy, be happy. If you want to make a gratitude list, have a gratitude list. If you want to be skeptical, if you want to rewatch all our videos and just feed your rage and poke holes in this system and be angry, do that.
Mhm.
If you want to have hope and daydream for the future, you can do if you want to do nothing, if you want to take two sleeping pills and sleep the day away.
Yes.
When what's his name? Elijah was depressed. What did God send him? Bread and sleep.
Yeah.
Sleep. And look, our nervous systems are all jacked up. I'm sure no one would, as long as you're healthy, I'm sure God would not condemn you for taking a couple of aids to
Yeah.
help you sleep away some of this depression, okay? Like,
Yeah.
whatever you want to do, you can do because you are free. And that's something that you can, that's something that you can reflect on. That's something that we have enjoyed reflecting on with Easter now.
Yes. It's so wild to be in an environment where that word is thrown around, but it's not a part of your reality whatsoever. Even what you were sharing about, why am I here at this midweek learning about studying the Bible or learning about how to have a quiet time for the 47th time? Because you're not really free. You're free as long as you do it like this. This is a reminder of how you should be using your freedom, right? There are tons of lessons like that. It's like, you are free, but how are you using your freedom? Oh, that's just so clever. That's such a clever way to put it, right? Isn't
If
that
you were really
smart?
grateful,
Oh my,
your freedom would want to share this freedom with everyone. If you truly understood how great your freedom was,
mhm.
wouldn't you want everyone to be free?
Yeah. You better be careful what you use it for. So now you're actually taking away the definition of the word freedom, and you're throwing in a warning, and you're doing some fear mongering, you know. Yes, having to undo the mental I should, etc. Oh my gosh. Even among spiritual things, so hard. It's like they were using the word freedom, but just continuing to put us in a cage, another cage, another layer of this cage until you just don't even know what to do. And you're just like, just tell me what to do, which is the goal, which is the goal. But also allowing yourself to actually experience the freedom that this Jesus of the Bible that they preach wanted you to have. Let that be your Easter. Let that be your new ritual. Your new goal. I mean, you just said it perfectly. But it's just so crazy. Us evangelical people understand the way the word freedom was taken, and literally the definition of it was stripped. I mean, and we see it. We see it in how Jesus always confronted the Pharisees, the things that he said to them about what their actions were really doing to harm people. I think that was the biggest thing for me, realizing, oh no, I am a Pharisee. We have a Pharisaical religion. That's what it is. And there is no freedom. There are just these chains and heavy weights placed on us all the time. There is this structure of how you should be doing things. You will be rewarded with attention and status in this organization if you follow the rules, and the opposite will happen if you don't. It is so awful. It is just so, yes, we get to experience real freedom, not being punished for not reaching quotas. And it can look like whatever you want. You're free now. I love that for Easter. Yeah, that's what I'm gonna do. Hmm.
Like, Asha, you've already been doing that. I'm glad you could have it. I'm glad now you have
I'm
a
gonna think
title for
about it
it.
more purposefully. No.
Okay. Now I'm going to do it on purpose.
Oh my goodness. You
Okay.
know?
Lastly, okay, sorry, let's review. So, point number one, not point, what was it? Like,
Ooh,
thought number one
thought.
was resurrection. You can reflect on resurrection of yourself, of nature around you. You
Mhm.
can reflect on the freedom that you have and the freedom everybody else has. I don't know if any of you are struggling with that, but everybody has freedom. So you can
Mm.
wrestle with that. They even have the freedom to not respect your boundaries, which means you have the freedom to implement the consequences of that.
Yeah.
Like, it's
Yeah.
really a choice. If people continue to choose, not to respect you, that's their choice. If they want to choose to continue to be that way, you can then choose to not participate. If they want to choose to continue to support and make excuses for and defend people that you have said abuse you,
Mm,
you have the freedom to
yeah,
say, well, that's not the kind of friend I want. So,
yeah.
as much as this hurts me, it hurts me even more to know that you love these other people so much that you're fine with them literally causing me drama. Like
Oh my
everyone,
god.
we cannot control people. And when you have that, and that's a tough one, but when you
Yep.
kind of surrender to that reality, even and I don't want to minimize, it is heartbreaking in the beginning when you're like,
Mm,
wow, I really used my words and I really tried to be respectful and kind in the way that I presented how this hurts me. Um, and you're really going to choose to talk to me this way. You're really going to choose to still participate with them. You're really going to choose, I'm willing to yield in some ways to compromise with you, but you're not willing to, okay, that's hard. But when you let that go, it frees yourself up to find the other people who are truly your people. And you don't realize how exhausting the mental gymnastics is until you give it up. One
yeah.
of my favorite things now is when people, whether it's like the ICOC or whatever, when people ask, well, why do you think this? Why do you think they would do that? What do you think about this? Now, and again, because everyone's different. Asha loves to go down the rabbit holes and figure it out. And she's like, I found it. And she has her whole conspiracy theory board and she's drawing and that's how we have, I don't know if you guys have noticed, but we have a new little series called Group Chat Gems, and I just take some of the messages she's left me on the Marco Polo app. Hey, Marco Polo, if you want to sponsor us, that'd be great. But on the Marco Polo, these are real conversations, and I just like take little
Yeah.
snippets and she's great at drawing these connections. Whereas for me, it has caused me so much psychological, mental, emotional, and physical distress that when people ask me now, I'm like, don't know, don't care. I can't figure it out, but they can do whatever they want, and I can do whatever I want, which is not be bothered with that. And I love that for me, and I love that for them because who,
Yep.
who am I to nag all the time? Go live your life, and you're free to do that. You're free to do that, and I'm free to not. See how that works? See how much less stress that is? But when you're in these evangelical religious communities, you are really taught you're your brother's keeper, you're your sister's
Mm,
keeper. There's a scripture, is it in Malachi about like if which I wonder how much of it's taken out of context, but there's a literal war going on,
Lord.
a literal war going on. And is it God? Is it a priest? A leader? Somebody says if you like hear the alarm or if you see the danger is coming and you do not, yeah, if you see the danger is coming and you do not sound the alarm, your brother's blood is on your hands, right?
Mm,
Because you
yeah.
see that the enemy is
Ezekiel
coming.
33,
Yeah, I
yeah.
knew it was an E. All right, Ezekiel.
Mhm.
You see that the danger is coming and you do not let people know. Now, the way that this was used in a lot of religious spaces is if you, in your finite wisdom and your self righteousness, if you perceive that what your brother or sister wants to do is going to cause them danger, and you do not take it upon yourself to be a nosy Nancy and a bossy Betty, uh, let's get the men in this, a judgy John. I don't like that how these are all women names. But
I
anyway,
know.
let's
Mhm.
see. A nosy Nathaniel and a bossy Bill.
Love it.
Thank you. And you don't tell them about themselves and tell them why their decision is going to be wrong. And if that happens to go bad for them, or if they don't get into heaven because of that, their blood is on your hands. And that's stressful. And it puts you on a high alert and it makes you feel like you have to be over invested in other people's lives And now we have the freedom to not do that. That
Mhm.
pressure that is gone, minding my business is one of my most favorite things. It's like,
Yeah.
even though it sounds passive, it is active for me. I think it's because
Mhm.
I've been trained to get in people's business. So now when I see things, I have a thought and I let it go.
Yeah.
I wonder, I wonder if that's the best. Actually, I don't. Not my business.
Yeah.
My, I don't wonder anymore. And I love that. It's so I just love it. I hope you guys can see the peace it brings me.
Yeah.
Like it brings me joy when people ask me, "Why do you think they would say that?" And I get to say, "Not my problem."
Yeah.
And I don't know. Asha can attest to that because she'll go
Yeah.
with that, and I'm like, "Asha, I don't have the bandwidth. I'm
Her
gonna go for a walk."
her disassociation game is strong, okay? And that's where we had that conversation yesterday. Because she was like, "Somebody said something." I was like, "No," and I was like, wait a minute. They said what?" And then she was like, "I just wanna let you know that I just don't have the bandwidth." And I was like, "Oh, no, you don't have to. I just went off on it because
And then what's funny is I
that's
think I
what
was
I
like,
do."
everything, and Asha said it so passionately, and I was like, you know, all of those thoughts did pass my mind, and I let them go.
She was like, I see it. I just didn't have time to say it. And I just don't. I got something else to do with my time. And,
It
you
doesn't
know,
bother me personally, and I don't foresee that it really directly harms anyone. So,
right. Right. And that's so funny. And I do want to say, like, if someone is literally directly about to get kidnapped or something, we will say something.
like, I hope that goes without saying, but a lot of
Yeah.
things that we think go without saying, we end up hearing about ourselves later that clearly,
Yeah.
anyway.
And just a little bit of background, again, it's always background. If you're like, "What did
Okay.
she just say? She doesn't care if people" No. When we were a part of ICOC, that scripture was used to put people back in the box. Anything that wasn't in the ICOC box meant you're in danger. That's what we were brainwashed to think. If you don't think like me, if you don't do things like me, then you are in danger. And so that very scripture was used to scare all of us. I mean, it's just so genius. So everyone is afraid that your friend, this person you care about, is in danger of the fires of hell, or Satan is literally going to reach his hand up from the ground and pull them down. And you will see them disappear into the floor right in front of you if you don't say the right thing to get them back into the box. So you were afraid of things like this person didn't show up to midweek this week, and instead they decided to go hang out with their family member who came into town who they haven't seen in 5 years. Right? That's what Ezekiel 33 was used for. It was used for someone deciding to go ahead and pursue their dream for medical school, right? Because that takes a lot of time. So they're going to miss a lot of things. So you have to warn them. This was used for someone joining a sports team. This was used for someone saying, especially for someone saying, "I don't know if I need to just date in this church. I like this guy. I feel like he's a Christian." Oh my God. Oh my God, the alarm bells that need to go off. So that's what she's talking about. It's like, huh, we still coming from this religious background and just as humans have opinions of what people are doing. And it is, so amazing to say, I'm not responsible for this person's life. They don't have to agree with me. They just don't. And I don't have to agree with everybody, and I think that's something that's actually still very hard for a lot of us evangelicals, especially ICOC. Um, so a lot of us, we come out, but we still have that. We're responsible for each other. I just had a big, I don't want to say big blow up, but kind of a blow up with one of my closest friends about this thing because I gave some advice without giving the long disclaimer. This was a really long disclaimer of, but still do what you want. And it was something as simple as going to buy a car, right? Um, and I'm like, oh, try this place. And then it's like, this place was awful. And this isn't the exact example, but it's similar. um, and then I'm like, I'm about to cry, and they're like, well, then you haven't talked to me. I'm like, because you're mad at me because I told you to go to that place and you didn't like, and we had to have like an hour-long conversation of mediating because that's the trauma that you're left with from this place, you know? And so not being responsible for another person is like one of the best gifts. Like allowing people to be adults in their own life is huge. It's huge coming out of this cult. And for those of you who don't understand, I am so happy for you. But we had to be responsible for people. It's crazy. So that,
Grown
yeah.
people.
That's what she's talking about. Like, this is your life. You get to learn. This is your journey. And not to mention how doing that, constantly gatekeeping people's lives, was actually preventing them from growing. It's preventing all of us from growing, discovering who we are, learning what we need to learn. Because it didn't matter about you as a human in your journey, your relationship with God, what God is trying to teach you, your purpose here, your gifts. You're only supposed to be using it for this one area in this one place. And, how can we use it? So that's why the rules were set up that way. So think about that if you're still in an environment like that.
And lots of,
Yeah.
I was going
Huh.
to say, lots of Christian, especially evangelical churches, are that way.
Yes.
Some more overt and some more subtle, but I do think that's part of why there is such an exodus,
Yeah.
because people are sensing that. And I think there's a certain draw, like the community is the draw in the beginning, and in theory, in theory, there's so many ways for your gifts to be used, and so you're excited about the possibility. But then once you're in long enough to really see how it goes and how it doesn't go, I think once we become disillusioned, that is why a lot of people leave a lot of evangelical spaces.
Yeah.
Um, so, all right. So that was resurrection and freedom. And then point
Mm.
number three is power. And
Yeah.
when I was writing my notes, the song Power in the Blood just came, it just kept
Of course
coming.
it did.
Power in the blood.
Of
What?
course that came
And then
into your head.
also nothing but the blood of Jesus. What can wash
Mhm.
away my sin? Anyway, that's not what we're talking about here.
Yeah.
I mean, for some. And so we'll get into the nuance here. And again, we do want this to be a safe space for everyone because the goal is not, our goal of this channel is not for everyone to think like Asha and
Mhm.
me. Our goal for this channel is to hopefully open your eyes so that you feel empowered to think like you, like you. Um, so anyway, so we're going to talk about things from like a vaguely spiritual perspective. We're going to talk about things from an exclusively still Christian perspective, and we will talk about things from like a more atheist perspective. Perspective. Perspection. Yeah, perspective. So bear with us before you think, if I start going off on one tangent, you're like, oh, they're not talking to me. We're gonna hit each of those three. And if I forgot one, tell me in the comments so we can include you too. Because again, we
Mhm.
want to acknowledge as many schools of thought as possible.
Yeah.
Because again, if you're not hurting anyone or harming anyone, like go off, king, go off, queen, do you. Okay. I think there's so many beautiful colors on
Yeah.
this spectrum. And that's okay. Another side note. That's been another one of my favorite things is as I build friendships on this side, is so for instance, I reconnected with another friend the other day, And I was like, oh, I don't know how you feel about astrology, but I'm a Leo South Node, so blah, blah, blah. And she was like, I'm weak. Nah, I don't really believe in it, but I do think da 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 da. And I was like, cool, I can see that too. And like, and then we were able to keep talking for another 3 hours. Like, you see how we thought differently about that, and we were still able to laugh and joke and love each other. I love that. I love that. I love when someone can say something that I don't believe at all, but I can see the value in it and I can love that for them. And then likewise, when I can say something and someone's like, oh, no, I don't really get down with that, but can you tell me more? Like, I'm curious, or that's cool, or, and because that's healthy. You don't
Yes.
have to think the same about everything for everyone, unless, again, of course, you believe that the consequence of someone not believing it is they're going to suffer painfully for eternity, and you think it's your
Mm,
responsibility to save them. But anyway, again, that's another topic, and that's not why you clicked on this
absolutely.
video. So anyway, let's get to point number 3, power. Um, so when I talk about power in regard to Easter and how you can kind of observe that and use that in your like meditation or reflection, observance, whatever you want to call it, just the notion that anything can happen.
Mm,
Anything can happen. So for people who are what's the first point here? Okay, so for people who are more exclusively Christian, thinking about Jesus literally dying, being brutally murdered, crucified, dead, not no pulse,
mm.
no life, no action, no brain waves, no heartbeat, no nothing. 3 days, 3 days in a tomb, dead. Like, and then he came back alive. What? That's crazy. That's a miracle of all miracles. It doesn't get any bigger than that. Okay, like Jesus said, I did my big one. Okay, like who can
Yes.
do it like me? Nobody. I don't know if that's sacrilegious, but I'm combining those two songs. Sorry,
What is sacrilegious? But anyway, go ahead.
don't mean to offend. Um, but like, I'm that dude. I did that. I resurrected, hopped out the tomb, turned my swag on. I'm Jesus. Jesus, the big one, not the little one. Okay, I don't know, y'all. Just I had 4 hours of sleep last night, so I'm doing the best I can with what I got.
Mhm.
But anyway, that it's huge. It's huge. So if God and Jesus could come together and the Holy Spirit and they can make that happen, where is the limit? I submit there is none. I
Yes.
submit there is none. Anything can happen for you. You
Mhm.
made it out that church. Did you ever think that could happen? Anything can happen for you. And that
Mm.
is big. And you can use that to reflect on today. For people
Yeah.
who are more spiritually inclined, but not Christian, I think Asha and I lean a little more toward there. Um,
Mhm.
the fact that you have the power behind you of the universe, the creator, the ancestors, your intuition, that you are being divinely guided, that's powerful.
Yes.
That you could possibly dare to allow yourself to be excited, possibly hopeful, that so many things exist, even in nature, things
Yeah.
exist that, like, why, how, like an anglerfish.
Yes.
How is it producing light that far down in the ocean?
Yes. Where
That's
does it come from?
wild.
Mhm.
But that happened.
Yeah.
That happened. I've wanted my nose pierced for years, but was afraid, and I got it done October 2022. Was scared. Did that. I'm living in my own apartment right now. This is my first time I've ever lived alone in my life, because I moved from my parents'
Wow.
house to college. Then, especially at my age, you are strongly, strongly, strongly encouraged to live with roommates,
Oh my gosh.
which I financially couldn't have done it any other way anyway. So I had roommates. Then I got married.
Mhm.
Like, I've never lived on my own. Here I am. Anything is possible.
Yeah.
And you can reflect on that. And then for people who are neither of those, maybe atheists, agnostics believe in a higher power, right? I'm sorry, please forgive me. But definitely atheists, people who don't believe in anything spiritual. We are all just a combination of cells here, reacting and acting. Let's take, again, just the miracle that you see here in the human world, like even how human life comes to exist. That a sperm and an egg come together, and it's just a little tiny microscopic blob. Then there's a heartbeat. Then there's a muscular skeletal system, a nervous system. There's hair, there's nails. It's a whole, then there's personality.
Mm.
Then the body that's carrying the baby is pre programmed to simulate contractions with increasing intensity to expel said baby from nothing, from nothing. Two elements from two different people come together. Now look at us all walking around. That is miraculous.
Yeah.
I think. I think that is miraculous. Um, and that's really, really powerful. So just being able to see that, like, this world that we live in, whether you look at it from a spiritual perspective or a scientific perspective or both, because they marry very well, we live in a land of so many possibilities. And there is power that we previously didn't have access to when it was robbed of us, when we
Mm.
were made into robots. And now that you have freedom and you are being resurrected, you have access to this power.
Yeah.
What can you do? What can your life be? That's
Yes.
cool to think about on Easter. It's cool to think about every day, but this video is about Easter.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And so then I think even like thinking of miracles, like maybe not walking on water, um, but even the fact that, like I mentioned before, a lot of us are out of the churches we came from. Who would have thought? Who would have thought? And then even simpler than that, if I can be so for real right now. Okay, now I'm feeling teary.
It was bound to happen.
um, Even the fact that some of us are still alive.
Mhm.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Like some of the things that you guys have left in the comments, the things that we have had said to us, the things you have had said to you, the things that you've seen, the things that were taken away, the people that you loved that are now gone, but you didn't get to spend time with them because you were made to believe that that was not the best, most godly use of your time. And you have to live with that now forever and find a way to make peace with that.
Yeah.
That's heavy. That's heavy. The things that you were made to believe about yourself that you possibly still have to wrestle with today.
Mm.
You being alive right now, you watching this video right now is a miracle.
Yes.
Asha and I being able to sit here right now and talk about this is a miracle. Y'all don't know how this channel, first of all, almost didn't exist. You don't know how, second of all, we almost didn't come back. Last year was so hard. It was so hard for both of us. And we were like, well, maybe that's it. And I think the only thing that kept us coming back was like, well, we're both kind of perfectionists. It's like, we at least got to finish out the series. We said we were going to do like 2 more videos. We got to at least wrap up the other videos because we said that's
Yeah.
what we were going to do. Um, but then even to like pick up the new wind that it has, like even just think about some of the days you were not even sure if you could keep going and you did. That's miraculous. And so, people like to debate, did he really multiply that many fish? Did he really walk on water? Did he raise from dead? We know he lived, but is he who they say he is? Like, but you here right now, after everything you've been through when so many other people are not,
Mm.
that's not nothing. That's not nothing. So,
No.
um, Asha, did you want to say anything before we get into our little lightning round list?
Um, yeah, I was just thinking, even on a smaller scale, I am such a boring pessimist. So I was like, this is a Nikita section. The power, anything is possible. I'm like, yeah, it is. But um I cannot, a lot of my anger comes from the fact that I cannot express enough how restricted I felt by, you know, my life as a child growing up, and then immediately joining this church and just having everything laid out for me and just being completely disempowered. Okay. I think that evangelical Christianity is extremely disempowering. I mean, at so many levels. I mean, even from being taught that you're nothing, you're only deserving of death, you're not entitled to a thing. How disempowering is that? And how that is, as much as I rage and go off, it's because of that. It's because that lives in my body. And I was just thinking of anything is possible. And even on a smaller scale, something that happened recently, I had to travel for work. Now, even me traveling for work to be part of these really cool organizations and groups, and um, is because I've had people outside of ICOC who see me and they're like, you're smart, right? You know that you're capable of things. You know that your voice needs to be heard, and you can help, and you're like one of the top of your field. And I'm like, what are y'all talking about? I don't know that. That's not true. You're lying to me because you're part of the world and you don't understand, because I don't hear this type of stuff in here. I'm still clawing my way to just get some simple respect. What are y'all talking about? But it's just these people, and I always get so emotional, just traveling with my coworkers and going to these different places and being part of these groups. And on my way back, what was it, like 4 weeks ago, my flight was delayed leaving Orlando, and so I missed my connecting flight. But of course, it wasn't my fault, so the airline immediately booked another one, but it wasn't until the next morning. And I just felt like a child, like, oh my God, I'm stuck in this airport all night. I don't want to be here. This airport doesn't even look that cool. It looks like I'm going to get kidnapped. I want to go home. And it was like at 11 p.m. at night. There's almost nobody left there. And I was like, what do I do? And I found my way to a bus to take to go to the car rental places for this particular airport, and ended up just freaking out the whole time. Like, what am I doing on a bus in Baltimore at 11 p.m.? This is not what I do. This is dangerous. And I just felt completely outside of my body. And I was like about to have a panic attack. And then I had to tell myself, Asha, you are an adult. You know what you are doing. You can do this. You can make decisions for yourself. Because my decision, I forgot to mention that, was I'm not staying in this airport. I'm driving back because it's only from Baltimore. It's 3 hours. But the whole time I'm questioning myself because I've just never this environment of traveling and figuring stuff out just for myself. And I'm like, do I even spend money on this rental car? Is this okay? Calling people and just having to step up as an adult in my life. Scared to ride the city bus in the middle of the night. Then I get there and it's all of these car rental places. And I'm like, which one do I choose? I was telling Nikita, it was like, I need an adult. I need an adult. Mind you, I'm 43. I need an adult. Someone needs to help me. And I was like, snap out of it. I should pick one. You've seen enterprise commercials before. Go to enterprise. You can do this. You work. This is your money. You can decide for yourself. And long story short, I got in the car. I had to have a huge decompression moment, just sit there and breathing for 10 minutes. And I just drove home from 12 a.m. to 3 a.m., made it, and just was so proud of myself. So proud of myself that I've made these. And for a lot of you, I know you're like, what? That's pretty basic something to do, but being so disempowered for 21 years, well, for 41 years, really. Um, and then being thrown into this world of these people who believe in me, and then having to make decisions for myself as an adult, and just seeing just how that situation showed me just how powerful I am. So if you're like me, someone who literally was made to feel like nothing for your entire life, and you're just making strides that appear small, but something like that just would have made you so proud of yourself. I want to say I'm here and I hear you, you know, and I'm proud of you for whatever you're doing in your life. That other people may feel like it's not a big deal, but you know, for you, that wasn't the norm. Be proud of yourself. Um, and yeah, anything is possible for you, and you do have so much power within you. If you are a person who has always had other people telling you what to do, or you have always had other people on a pedestal in your life, and you're taking them off of that pedestal and you're stepping up, that is very, very powerful. So just wanted to share that.
Yes, thank you, Asha. Um, so lastly, we wanted to
Mm,
go through with a little list. I put together a list of 10 things that you could do tomorrow. Um, and obviously, as we said before, you don't have to do any of this, but
yeah.
they're just things to get your juices flowing.
That's important. You don't have to do anything.
Some people like some people like lists and some people like suggestions, and we are
Yes.
here to meet you where you're at and hope that you will be able to take these suggestions and expand upon them and make them beautifully your own, or it will lead you to something that feels more true to you. Um, so we'll just run through these. One, you can have a picnic. That's what I want to do one year, but it's just never
Mm,
been warm enough or sunny enough or whatever. But I think that would be so fun to just go eat
yeah.
some snacks in a nice sunny, warmish place, look at all of the nature around, and like whether you're by yourself or with family or friends, just kind of talk about how beautiful the surroundings are and maybe some things that you're excited about, like the resurrections in your life. So, number two, it goes with number one. Write a list of things you've seen resurrect in your personal life or what you hope to see resurrect in your personal life. That's number two.
Mm-hmm.
Number three, you could wear all black and listen to angry rock music or rap music because you can. You can. You can do such the opposite. If that's what you feel in your spirit you need to do is let your pendulum swing all the way the other way,
Mm-hmm.
do it on purpose. Just do it on you might do it every single day. Do it extra hard tomorrow. Like wear something extra black and turn the volume up a little louder
Turn
just
your bass
because it's
up.
Easter. Turn your bass just because it's Easter. Um take that pastel. Take that, hymnal. Take that, Hillsong.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Anyway, let's see. Next, stay in bed till noon or later because you can. Because you can. If you're feeling a little extra indulgent, look into some ways to produce some dopamine while you're in that bed. Uh, the
Yes.
dopamine, some serotonin. I'm not going to tell you what to do in your own bed. You have fun with that. Figure that out.
Yeah.
Um, let's see. Next, take a long walk. And again, let your mind go where it may. Maybe it will
Yes.
go nowhere. And guess what? That's great too. Isn't it so nice to have the freedom to not have to think about anything? That's so great. Just get
Yes.
outside. Just get outside. And again, enjoy nature resurrecting if you're in, the proper hemisphere for that.
Wave at
So,
people without assuming that they're going to hell and you need to save them.
or don't because you don't like
Yeah.
people.
Oh, yeah, maybe don't wave at them. Because you don't have to say hi to everybody. Tell my husband that. No, I'm just kidding. He's awesome. But he's like, "Hi, hi."
My son.
Mhm.
Next, make and enjoy a playlist with your favorite songs that make you feel alive or hopeful
Mhm.
or whatever emotion you want to indulge in. Again, if that's anger, if that's sadness, if that's nostalgia, why don't you make and enjoy the playlist?
Yes.
Next, create your own Easter ceremony or
Mm,
service at your house and meditate on what the resurrection means to you. Friends and family are optional, and it can be as short or as long as you want it.
yep.
Next, enjoy some creative expression, whether that is consuming it or creating it, writing, painting, sculpting, instruments, dancing, whatever is your jam. If that is the gift that was placed inside of you, what better way to honor, the fact that you have that life, you have this shot at life, by also creating something.
Yeah.
Because for a lot of us, myself included, as I talked about how I'm getting back into writing, our hobbies, our creative endeavors, they can feel like silly, and we've possibly, if you're like me, it's been neglected.
Yeah.
And so why don't you get your feet wet again and really allow yourself to enjoy that? And again, if you don't create, but you really like to consume, like you like to consume jazz, you like museums, you like listening to other people's poetry, like allow
Mhm.
yourself to just really appreciate the beauty that is. Next, an unstructured hangout with some friends. Just
Yeah.
hang out with them. It doesn't have to be Easter themed. You can just enjoy each other's company. And I wrote, it's one of my favorite little sayings, but with people who feel like sunshine, like they feel like sunshine, they make
Yeah.
you feel like sunshine. Like, and to me, this means you don't feel on guard. You don't feel on guard. You don't feel like they make you smaller. You feel like you can be yourself. You feel like they appreciate you. You appreciate them. There's a mutual respect and loving kindness for each
Mhm.
other. Um, and it just feels different. It just, when you meet someone and there's just the kind of that click and that natural enjoyment. Because again, a lot of times in these evangelical spaces, everyone's your brother, everyone's your sister.
Mm.
Gotta love everybody. If you don't get unified, you gotta fight for it. And it's like, in the real world, sometimes people just aren't friends, and that's okay.
Well,
That's
they'll
really
tell you
okay.
that if you wanna be friends with a leader. They'll be like, "Everyone isn't gonna be your friend." If there's a group you're trying to get into that yeah,
That's true.
I've
But if
heard
they're
that
in your
said.
Bible talk or something
Yeah.
like that, then you should just be how sweet it is when brothers live in unity. It's like oil running down, who's it, Aaron's beard. Mm, just really wrestling. When's the last time you served them?
Yeah,
Anyway,
so
this is the lightning round. This is the lightning round. but who are your people or your one person or your cats or your dog or your plants and uh
Oh,
and just hang
yeah.
out. And then lastly, rest.
Just
You could
rest.
just rest. What does that look like? Does that look like becoming one with your couch? Does that look like, again, taking those sleeping aids and getting a really deep restorative sleep? Does that look like taking a bath or a hot shower? Does it look like maybe doing
Mhm.
yoga? Like, rest. Say it with me. Rest. Because that's such a foreign concept to the evangelical community. So yeah,
Just
do
sad.
nothing productive, nothing work task oriented.
Mm-mm. Without
Chill,
guilt. Without
chill.
guilt.
Well, that's hard. Work
Yeah.
on the without guilt part. Work on
Mhm.
the without. I'm still working on the without guilt part. But
Mhm.
you got to start somewhere. You got to start. So first thing, just do it.
Mhm. Mhm.
But yeah, that's the last thing. And so I know that I said oil on the beard that in the evangelical community that rest is difficult. But here in our little culture of the internet, Asha and I have decided that we would like to call ourselves and all of you who interact with us and keep coming back the cultured community. I should have created
Mm.
a little band. Let me see if I
I
can
know,
make
why
the
didn't I
banner
create
here.
something?
Let me see. Cultured. Hold on, guys. It's about to pop up on the screen.
I gotta
And
go.
y'all know this is how we get down. We are on the fly. We are doing, gosh darn it. I left off the D. We figure it out as we go, right? That's part of our brand. There it is. Cultured community.
That's what I'm talking about.
There we go.
See
That
that
way it's
play on
reversed.
words.
Yes. And it actually came up because someone asked us, what's the name of your podcast? And I was like, we
I
don't
can't
have a
remember.
name. But and the reason we don't have a name or we didn't have a name is because it was never supposed to be this. It was never supposed to be this. That's why the playlist is called ICOC series, because in our mind, we had like 6 topics we wanted to cover. We were just
Yeah.
going to get in and do like 6 videos and be like, okay, now if anyone ever wants to know anything, they can find that and it'll be there forever. And then we can go back to minding our business and being in our hole. Um, but you guys have become really, really fun. We've really enjoyed this. We keep making new connections and observations that we're like, oh, we have to talk to the people about this. And
Yeah.
then, you know, yeah, so now it's kind of a thing. And it's like, well, we should have a name. I think hopefully sometime this year, Asha's husband Odell will be able to strip our audios and actually we'll put it on some podcast platforms and see what happens there.
Mhm.
So since it's a thing, we should have a name. And we like to play on words, cultured community. We are a community. We wanted something that would describe us as well as you. And then also because you guys know the cult space, it's kind of, I mean, everyone has their own little niche, but also a lot of people look the same, very similar kind of background and
Mhm.
experience. And we're just bringing a different culture to the
Yeah.
table. We're bringing a
Yeah.
different culture to the table. And so we thought that could be fun. And I think just our one thing that makes it fun for us is we get to be ourselves. We don't
Yeah.
have to code switch. And we've heard from a lot of you that that's what keeps you coming back and that's what keeps you engaged. It's because we don't really pull any punches. We're just who we
Mhm.
are, unhinged as it may be. And yeah, so thanks for being part of the cultured community. And
Yeah.
as we go on, we'll talk obviously continually talk about the ICOC International Churches of Christ, but just cults, scams, grifts, narcissists as a whole, and just kind of expand because as we leave one cult, what's very, very common is people hop into another. And
Mhm.
even if it's not a whole other cult, you may find yourself in a relationship with a mentor, a
Yeah.
doctor, a coach, um, an employer. And before you know it, you are letting things slide in it's just copy paste and you're seeing it again. And so we want to go on this journey with you to
Yeah.
make sure that you get to stay out. Stay out. And so even and I wasn't expecting to go here, but yesterday Austin and I were having another conversation. I had like a weird interaction with someone and they're not and they're boring and they boring. Let me not change your words. And they boring. Uh, thank you. Thanks for not thinking we're boring. Um, but it was just a weird interaction. And so, long story short, I got ghosted, y'all. Okay. I got ghosted. And I was like, oh, maybe it's because I said this or I did this. It was weird, but whatever. And Asha was like, first of all, you only met this person a couple of hours ago. So, for one. And two, do you see how you're assigning them all of this charitable thinking and like they must have all of these good reasons and you are so like what you don't know this person and you think they have all this good about them and you are automatically inherently wrong and you deserved that and you did nothing wrong, you did nothing weird, and you now are low-key spiraling about if you said something wrong. And it really was the splitting hairs, guys. Like, was it this? Was it that? And it was like the most literally we exchanged like only a handful of messages. Like, I was like, oh, did I say this wrong? What the heck? And so luckily Asha was like, snap. It wasn't like that. It wasn't like, it was kinder, but that's like what it like, girl, snap out of it. Snap out of it. And so with all that being said, we want to continue to make content to help you have those kinds of realizations in your own life.
Mhm.
Because toxicity is just everywhere, y'all. Toxicity is everywhere, gaslighting is everywhere,
Everywhere.
control is everywhere. And as part of the cultured community, we got to make
Mhm.
sure we don't get back into the cult part. So
It's true. Yeah.
so that is it for this episode. We are doing a double feature today. So we're going to hop off of this one, and in just a few minutes, we'll be back to go live again to talk
Yeah.
about the marrieds ministry. The marrieds ministry, they said it was God's plan. So if you want to stick around, you are welcome to do so. But until next time, stay safe and stay free, y'all.
Stay free.
Yes.
Yeah.
Alrighty. Bye.
Bye.